Welcome to the PFP podcast. I'm Luke Holloway, editor of Personal Finance Professional magazine. In this episode, I'll be talking to Michael Colyer and Steve Hughes. In this episode of the podcast, we're talking to two of the 2024-25 PFS Personal Finance Award winners. The Personal Finance Awards celebrate excellence and achievement within the financial planning profession and recognise the outstanding contributions made by individuals, firms and initiatives in the financial advice sector. I'm joined by Michael Colyer, Chartered Wealth Manager and Chartered Financial Planner of Colyer Associates, who was named Chartered Financial Planner of the Year at this year's awards. And Steve Hughes, Director and Co-founder of Five Wealth, who are our PFS Chartered Financial Planning Firm of the Year. And Steve was also named our PFS Education Champion of the Year. Here's my conversation with Michael and Steve. Hello, Michael, and hello, Steve. And thank you very much for joining us on the PFP podcast today.
Hi, Luke.
Hi, Luke. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. Thank you for joining us. So, Steve, you collected two awards at this year's Personal Finance Awards ceremony, with your firm, Five Wealth, being named Chartered Financial Planner of the Year. And also you won the award for Education Champion of the Year as well. So double the reason to celebrate. What made you enter the PFS Personal Finance Awards, Steve, in the first place?
It was slightly random in a way. We founded the firm 8 years ago, and as business owners and practitioners, you tend to focus on looking after your clients first and foremost, developing your team, and we don't always stop to reflect on how far we've come. And we had an away day where we were just really doing a strategy piece for the future, and we're really proud of what we built, and we've never really benchmarked ourselves. We think we've got a really good thing happening, and we've grown something that we think is quite special, and we just wanted to benchmark ourselves against what we would regard the highest quality firms in our industry. So entering the awards was really, and going through that process, because we didn't expect to win the awards or be finalists or anything like that. We just thought, let's go through the process, and it'd be a really good navel gazing exercise to self-reflect and get some good feedback. So that was it, really, in earnest.
Fantastic. So when you say we, how big is the firm, Five Wealth?
We're not that creative. So when we started, there were five of us, and we did wealth management, and we thought, well, we think we've got a name here. So we started with five founders, and we're at 32 people today. So we've grown steadily, organically. And what we've always done is we've always tried to back youth. So, you know, this is one of the things that came out in our submission, that we had a graduate policy where we'd have a graduate program, and we'd take intake from the Manchester universities each year, and that, you know, build them through the business. And, you know, some of those people have gone on to be, you know, senior people now, owners and, you know, practitioners in their own right. So, yeah, we've been steady along the way, and we're at 32 today.
Fantastic. I mean, that's great that you've got that collaboration, as you say, and you know, new talent in the profession is obviously a huge subject of how to get that next generation of financial professionals. What are some of the other kind of areas, the key areas you think that help to make you stand out as a chartered firm?
It's hard without sort of knowing what other people do, particularly on these things, because we've never submitted an award before. But I think the things that would, or the feedback we got was, we've seen a lot of businesses in this industry, and often they're made for the owners, and they become lifestyle businesses, and there isn't really succession planning, and it all stops. And we all know the demographics in our industry, and the average age being north 50s, 60, you know, the male female ratio, and we saw all the things that we perceived as problems in the industry. And I think when we started this, we just decided to be what we wanted to change in the industry. So from day one, we focused on succession planning and youth, and making sure we weren't a lifestyle business for the owners. That, you know, my legacy or our legacy is that this business outlives the founders and prospers and gives great careers for people for generations, and our clients can get looked after the original principals disappear. So I think one of the big focuses was succession planning and taking what we saw in the industry and what we perceived to be issues in the industry and long-term issues, and trying to do the opposite, really.
So there's a real kind of fundamental kind of culture that you've tried to build from the start. And I mean, as becoming a chartered firm, becoming a really important part of that's the kind of ethos that you wanted to be part of your organisation.
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, I think when we first started, we had lots of different hats on. We had to buy some paper, we had to buy a printer, some quite, basic things. But one of the things we tried to do at the beginning was become chartered. And, part of the requirements are you've got to be trading for 3 years. So we waited patiently for our 3 years to come up. And then, the application was in pretty much the day after. It's been a badge or an accreditation that we wanted to not show off, but it's important to us because we think we're a professional service. We're a service-based business. We've got a lot of technical expertise and we look after people, but we do know the public perception doesn't always mirror or match what we can see internally. So we wanted that badge, and the chartered is to us the gold standard of what we can aspire to in this industry. So we got it as soon as we could. Yeah.
Excellent. And Michael, what a fantastic achievement to be named the Chartered Financial Planner of the Year by the PFS. How thrilled were you on the day to win the award?
Well, it was a really anxious lunch because, the lunch at the venue was absolutely fantastic. But of course, we're just waiting for the host to announce, and the winner is. So there's quite a long wait. And I was absolutely gobsmacked and extremely thrilled. I haven't entered the Chartered Financial Planner of the Year award previously. So to get it at the first attempt was just absolutely lovely. What a fantastic feeling. Thrilled to bits.
That's so good to hear. So, yeah, as you mentioned there, it's the first time you've entered the award. I mean, what made you decide to go ahead with it this year, Michael?
Well, I previously entered the Retirement and Later Life Advisor of the Year and the Investment Advisor of the Year. And this one just seemed to be a natural progression, having effectively proved my technical expertise in those two categories. I thought I'd effectively try for the big one, and it came good.
And from a kind of professional sense, how nice is it to have that recognition for your efforts and the work you do with your clients?
Well, I think it's a validation that what you do is right. And I am slightly skeptical about some awards, but the fact that this one is actually awarded by my professional institute, I think gives it a certain gravitas. It's certainly, I think, the blue ribbon of the awards that you might be awarded. And I think that the fact that there's such a rigorous case study and an interview process makes it, I think, stand up to scrutiny. So, yeah, very important.
And kind of moving into the day itself and the ceremony, Steve, I understand your mum and dad were there to see you collect the award for Five Wealth, as well as your Education Champion Award. How was the day overall? How proud were you to pick up those awards and celebrate your achievements?
It was, the overall day was a very humbling experience. You get a few of these in your career as a financial planner. I think when we started the firm, we had clients elsewhere, and we said to them after a period, would you like to come and join us? And they did. And that was one of those points in your career where you feel vindicated for what you do. And that day was one of those days. They don't come often, and we're not there for the pats on the backs. We want to look after our clients and look after our people. But it was a proud day. And without digressing into my personal things, but when I graduated from university, I did philosophy, and I was really cool and very, I didn't need the pomp and the ceremony, so I didn't have a graduation. So it was actually quite nice to have them come to London and see some vindication of what the education that they made sacrifices for was all about, and what we've been able to achieve. And I was obviously just the representative from Five Wealth picking up the awards for our firm.
Amazing. As you say, and sometimes, years can go by and you don't stop to reflect and recognise the progress you've made and your achievements. So that's fantastic. And what does it mean to the firm going forward? I mean, have you proudly kind of put the award in the office already, and with the team really pleased that you won?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, I think things went on LinkedIn pretty quickly. I was still travelling back, carrying two big gold sort of pound signs, thinking, how much are these worth? Are we going to get back to the hotel? Okay. But it went out on social media pretty quickly, and, the texts were coming in, the messages were coming in, and, have we won? And everybody was a bit, we didn't go into this with any expectation that we were coming out with, any silverware or gold or whatever. But I think not just the founders or the senior people in the firm. This firm is, all the way from, the people that look after our clients when they come into the office or do the initial communications, to those people that have got chartered in the name. It's a team. It's one team. And it was really good to sort of give everybody that big pump to say, you've all done this, we've all done this. There was a lot of, afterwards, congratulations to everybody in the team. And I think everyone felt that, it's that sense of pride, because, we aspire to be the best we can for our clients. You do what you can all the time. You put them first. We're always there for people. And, sometimes to get some external validation is really nice. It's very proud. We've got two big gold things in the office to go with everything else, and the good icebreakers for clients. But I think internally it was more a thank you to everybody within the team, and some sort of validation of what we're doing. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear. What kind of a boost it's given to the firm, and to have that recognition. And it never hurts to be an award-winning firm, I'm sure, as well. So.
No, and there is another piece to this, which we've never been big on marketing, or, this is look at us and humble brag on social media. But when I started out, I remember, this is a long time ago, but the firm didn't have a website, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it does make it a lot harder to start going out there and saying what you do and who you are. And we're not a brand. We've never aspired to be, that huge company that you see on, taxis everywhere. But it's really good for our next generation that are just starting to go out there. If they can show, on their email footer and talk to people about what a chartered financial planning firm does, and the recognition of a national industry award, it certainly helps them. And so that's really great for that whole piece for them, to go out there and spread the word and the importance of our charter status as well.
Fantastic. And Michael, what do you think some of the key areas were that helped you stand out as a financial planner within your kind of application for the awards?
I think it was really a case of highlighting what was important to me. And what's important to me is undoubtedly front and center client outcomes. And if you can get the client outcomes right, then your clients will always look after you. They'll refer you. And it does make your professional life, very easy. For me, what's important to me is technical excellence. I always am busy making sure that the advice that I give is well-founded. And also the ethical framework in which I operate is extremely important to me, as it is probably to everyone, of course.
Absolutely. And that kind of leads us on to the fact that, of course, you are a chartered financial planner. I mean, how important is that to you? Is that a real part of the culture that you've always kind of kept in the work you do during your career?
Absolutely. And I've always worked in a professional environment. So my early career was as an officer in the armed forces. I was in the Royal Navy. Driven by an ethical framework. And while it doesn't have a professional institute, it's clearly quite professional. From there, I qualified as a chartered accountant with quite stringent exams, and again, that professional background. So when I entered financial services, it was absolutely natural that I would aspire to become a chartered financial planner, which I did very early on in my financial services career.
Absolutely. And when you put forward those the case study and the application as such, I mean, what were the key areas that you kind of focused on or tried to shine a light on as your work as a financial planner?
I think it was really a case of highlighting what was important to me. And what's important to me is undoubtedly front and center client outcomes. And if you can get the client outcomes right, then your clients will always look after you. They'll refer you. And it does make your life, your professional life, very easy. For me, what's important to me is technical excellence. I always am busy making sure that the advice that I give is well-founded. And also the ethical framework in which I operate is extremely important to me, as it is probably to everyone, of course.
Steve, you've been a member of the Personal Finance Society for some years as well. I mean, is that something that you encourage your team to be part of as well? And what role has the PFS played in your career and help shaping your firm?
Yes, so all our people are tasked with going through the PFS process in terms of examinations and development. We have partnerships with next gen planners to help our development with exams, but also soft skills as well, and personal development and different types of learning for people, because people learn in different ways. That's key. When I started out, all I did for the first few years was just study and do exams and get chartered as soon as I possibly could. And that learning and that development was formative for me in building my experience and my expertise. So it's a big part of what we do. In terms of how it shaped or helped career, I think certainly building that, in our industry, in our world, it's a lot about personality and having a connection with the client and understanding their needs. But it needs to be backed by technical expertise. So the PFS has been the driver for that. The other thing that I think has been quite valuable and possibly gets underestimated is I did a lot of the local chartered events when I was coming through. And that was a room full of chartered financial planners. There was always great content in that room. And the people in that room I looked at as best in class. And just through osmosis or, sponging what you heard from those people, the pace and level of development from that was far stronger than, me sitting there doing exams. It's a bit like learning a foreign language and living in the country for a few months. You just get that real surge. And that was great. And in our industry, I think historically, we've not been great at collaborating and sharing ideas. But that's improved now. And those chartered connections events were fantastic for me coming through. And, we're encouraging our people to get involved with local things and speak to other practitioners and, let's share best practice and just raise the bar for everybody.
Absolutely. And yeah, as you say, that collaboration and the almost mentorship and having those role models in the profession can be incredibly valuable especially to those coming through.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. And staying on that theme of kind of learning and guidance, Steve, I'd love to speak a bit more about your other award, which was Education Champion of the Year. Can you tell us how you got involved with the PFS Education Champion initiative?
Yeah, I can't remember what the initial trigger was in history, but I've always, when we started this firm, or part of what I want to do in my own career is create legacy and impact. And we look after and serve the clients that are fortunate enough to be in a position where they can actually pay for a professional service and somebody like us and our industry. Now, not everybody's blessed with that, and our industry needs to do more to get into more people. I mean, we can talk about that, but I've gone into schools for as long as I can remember doing talks on careers days, not about me per se or my path into the industry, but to talk about our industry and how it's crying out for young people. We talked about demographics and, we are an aging industry, however you want to put it. And we need to create more avenues and pathways for people to come in. So I'm a big believer in, you can't be what you can't see. So going into schools and saying, look, I just wanted to play for Manchester United until I was a certain age and then realised I wasn't very good. And this is what I do. Try give people those routes in and tell them how you can get in. So I've been doing that for a long time. And then when I came across the my PFS initiative, it just aligned with, that, doing things for free, pro bono. We're not just in this world commercially, we're trying to make an impact. And it was great because the content was already done. And it was fantastic content, and there was structure to it. It was national, and it was the perfect thing for me. So I jumped into that, did lots of sessions in schools, and every single one of those sessions, even during lockdown when you were doing really hard things on Zoom and Teams where it's really tough to engage, you might be dealing with a school in a deprived area, but you will hit at least one person in that room at some point, or there'll be one takeaway in that room. And every single one of those sessions, I've got so much out of because I know there's some impact going on there. So been involved with that from probably about 5 years now, I think. And the team that run it, they run it like clockwork. The schools know what's happening. We've got schools that are doing it every year now, and you're just the latest cohort coming through. And, there's a bunch of people around the country that are dedicated to doing this. And as far as initiatives go, to me, it's the best thing I've seen in our industry.
Amazing. That's great. And yeah, just kind of hearing how it's growing and more advisors are getting involved and seeing how it's progressing and reaching, literally thousands and thousands of young people. And as you say, letting them know about a career that they might not otherwise consider.
No, and there's an example. I did a careers assembly, and I just talked a bit about my journey, and again, making them understand that, you don't have to follow a certain pathway, find your purpose, find your why. You will change as an individual from a 16-year-old to a 25-year-old, and talking about the routes into our industry and the graduate scheme we did and other aspects through apprenticeships and university degrees. We had a chap turn up on a cold wintry night who effectively, for want of a better word, blagged his way into our office, I think is fair to say, and got past reception in a way to get a meeting and to get in a room. And, he wanted to come in and get a career in the industry, and we gave him some work experience, and, he will hopefully prosper in this industry. So you can have an impact not just in terms of education, but also in terms of giving people great careers. And whenever I go in and do the careers stuff, I regard myself as a Trojan horse. Once I'm in, I can then start talking a little bit about what we do and give people a bit of, knowledge, and maybe talk about compounding or budgeting. And, it's just getting in the room. And the PFS initiative, once you're in that room with the kids, there's always time for conversations about our industry and what we do, and they're ready. The children are definitely ready. And my big thing is, can we get them taught at primary school, not just secondary school?
Well, there's obviously huge appreciation, Steve, for yourself and other PFS members that take part in that initiative, because your efforts, as you say, getting into those classrooms and getting some time to let younger people know about a career in the industry is fantastic. So yeah, it's really valuable work. And Michael, how are you able to kind of spread the message of the profession and being a member of the Personal Finance Society and how important financial advice is? Is that something you try and do to the kind of next generation of advisors you hope that will come through, or your peers?
Absolutely. I think we all have a responsibility to make sure that the excellent profession in which we're all a member continues on, and we all have that duty to bring on the younger generation. Personally, I've developed a number of financial advisors from zero base, introducing them to my business and the profession, and that's resulted in 3 more chartered financial planners within the population. And I'm very keen to spread the good word amongst my fellow professionals, so I spend a bit of time lecturing to local law firms, and I work very closely with accountants. And working with other professionals is absolutely critical to making sure that the client outcomes are good.
Excellent. I'm sure that collaboration is incredibly valuable. So that's excellent to hear. And turning back to the awards, Michael, what would you say to other professionals perhaps that are kind of umming and ahhing about next year's awards? What would you say about putting themselves forward for those accolades?
I think I'd say think very carefully in respect of how you might frame any citation that you'll need to write, and absolutely focus on the outcomes that the PFS are looking for. Reserve a significant amount of time for research and presentation on the hardest technical case study that you will ever expect to undertake. And if you get invited to the final stage, I would say be authentic about the passion that you might have for your chosen profession. I would absolutely endorse anyone that's considering to have a crack at it, to give it a go. I feel as though the validation that you get should you win, and I appreciate that I've been very fortunate to be in that position, is it is absolutely the blue ribbon of awards out there.
That's fantastic to hear, Michael. And some really excellent advice there as well for any future nominees or possible winners. And my final question, Michael, quite a general one. I mean, what are your hopes for the future of the financial planning profession?
That's a very good question. And I think it will continue to thrive. And I think it's never been under any doubt that the value of advice really enhances our clients' lives. And a case in point being the budget last week, where the various knee-jerk reactions in respect of what people should do with agricultural land or their pensions highlights this in absolute spades. And I think that the need for advice has never been higher.
Steve, I mean, coming back to the awards, what would you say to anyone in your position, perhaps, that, thought we haven't really reflected on what we've done, and, we've been doing some good work for some years? What would you say about any other firms or individuals thinking of applying for next year's Personal Finance Awards?
I mean, in essence, just do it. I mean, at the very least, the worst that can happen by going through the process will improve your business, and whether it, the stop and reflect on what you do and how you can be better. But the framework of the submissions and the things that are asked, they keep you honest. You have to look in the mirror and go, well, are we actually living this, or are we trying to pay lip service to it? And actually, are we doing the deed, or just trying to create a facade? And I think having that look through and being honest with yourselves, we don't always do it. But I found the whole thing, it wasn't a straightforward process where, put an online submission through and we'll see you in London. You go through a few steps, you go through a panel interview, and what you come out at the end of that is better place to improve your firm and think about the things that you can do to be better. And if you happen to get, invited to London and become a finalist or win an award, then, that's absolutely icing on top. But I would do it anyway as a very good exercise for any firm that wants to develop and also benchmark themselves against, best in class, to get amongst that group and learn from that group as well.
Absolutely, and who knows, you might even pick up an award like yourself, Steve. And a final question, Steve. I mean, quite a general one. What are your kind of hopes for the future of the financial planning profession? You've mentioned how you've built your firm up and the kind of ethos and culture you have, and the next generation of talent. I mean, what are your thoughts about the future of the profession as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, without sort of concentrating on 5 I think internally what we want to do is create legacy, create impact, and create great careers for people, and longevity and stability for our clients, and that's us. But I think at a wider level, financial planning can have a massively positive impact on people's lives, but how many people are accessing it? And I guess for me, I want us to reach more people than we currently do, and create more benefit to a wider population. Now, how do we do that? There's a few aspects. One is, I think, part of the chartered aspect, and what we're doing with the PFS is hopefully improving and raising standards and improving public perception, because let's be honest, that there's a history there of our industry that doesn't always cover itself in glory. And sometimes you feel as though you've been working against that, certainly in the early part of my career. So we need to improve public perception and engagement, and, by reaching more people at an earlier age, whether that's in schools, universities, by reaching people in the workplace. So not necessarily, clients of Five Wealth, but going into workplaces and hitting more and more people by doing, we do financial wellbeing surgeries for workplaces, and you can get more people access that way. And I think the business models in our industry need to be adapted, evolved, so that, we can serve more people and at an earlier stage. And the way people charge or have charged historically doesn't always lend itself to that. So I think my thing is, this is a massively positive impact we can have on people's lives. How do we get access to more people to do that?
Thank you, Michael. And thank you, Steve, so much for joining us on the podcast today. And once again, a huge congratulations for your awards this year.
Thanks very much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words.
And thank you very much for listening to this episode of the PFP podcast. If you'd like to find out more, you can visit pfp.thepfs.org/podcasts. So until next time, thank you and goodbye.